neighborhood preservation. That was my start.
Ready? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Kara Long-Cora, and I represent the Neighborhood Preservation Coalition of New York State. Before I begin, the coalition and its membership would like to thank Chairman Farrell, Chairwoman Young, Chairwoman Little, and Chairman Wright, as well as the distinguished members of the legislature, for this opportunity to present testimony and provide feedback on the governor's executive budget proposal for 2016-17. We are, of course, happy to see that the NPP and RPP proposed program funding for this budget year has remained consistent with funding from last year, and we're thankful that the J.P. Morgan Chase settlement funds are again included in the proposed budget to support the activities of the N and RPCs. The increase in funding, no matter how temporary, helps our companies carry out their activities and fulfill their missions. Today, the coalition is here to focus on budget issues that relate to affordable housing and community revitalization in suburban and urban areas of our state. So the NPP helps to fund the vital work of the 144 NPCs, neighborhood preservation companies, who provide a range of services from housing repair and rehab to affordable housing development to tenant advocacy and landlord-tenant mediation to Main Street revitalization and beyond. It is important to note here that for every preservation dollar appropriated, NPCs raise approximately $45 for their communities. So that's that economic development we've been talking about. In light of the depth and breadth of the work the NPCs do, we are pleased that the executive budget includes a $6.5 million increase for the Housing Trust Fund and keeps the funding stable for access to home. We are also encouraged by the House New York 2020 plan. But we are dismayed by the proposed cuts to the Affordable Housing Corporation, which is slated to be cut, as Senator Little pointed out, from $29 million to $26 million, which is roughly a 10% cut. AHC preserves housing that is safe and decent and makes it affordable to low and moderate income New Yorkers. As many of you are aware, over half the renters in both upstate and downstate are cost burdened, spending 30% or more of their income on housing. In upstate New York, for renters, the figure is 52%, and for downstate, the figure is 55%. For homeowners, 32% of upstate are cost burdened, and 45% of downstate are. When you compare New York State to the rest of the nation, only 3 other states have renters who are more cost burdened, and those are Oregon, Florida, and Hawaii. And only Hawaii and California have homeowners who are more cost burdened than ours. Our foreclosure rate is among the worst in the nation. Only New Jersey's is higher. It currently stands at 5.3%. Without programs like AHC being fully and appropriately funded, low and moderate income renters will not have adequate opportunity to become homeowners, and homeowners will see fewer opportunities to make needed repairs to their homes, thereby decreasing the safety and health of our housing stock, as well as the vitality of our communities. The cut to AHC seems to reflect a trend wherein successful HCR programs administered by the Office of Community Renewal have not seen increased funding or new initiatives in many years. Examples include urban initiatives and rural area revitalization. And if we couple all of this, the cost burden of renters and homeowners, the high foreclosure rate, and funding cuts to vital programs, with the outflow of Gen Xers and baby boomers, we can start to see a very dire problem take on fuller shape. Excess housing stock in the form of single-family homes, a continued high foreclosure rate, and perhaps even a spike in the number of zombie homes, a severe lack of availability of affordable rental housing, and consequently a potential rise in homelessness across the state. And you need to know Hawaii has a current homeless state of emergency declared, and Portland, Oregon has a current housing and homeless state of emergency declared. If we do not address our housing problems right now and in a meaningful way through programs with observable and measurable impact, we can only expect these problems to continue and to deepen. In the governor's announcement of his 2016 agenda, he states that we have made, quote, significant achievements in affordable housing preservation and construction over the past 5 years. These achievements were made possible by the programs we spoke about, and we're happy that the governor wants to expand affordable housing for residents of our state who sorely need it. but not at the expense of existing programs that we know work. The programs which have had this observable and measurable impact, like AHC, UI, and RARP. In light of this, we would respectfully request that funding to AHC be restored and that an allocation be made to urban initiatives in RARP. We must ensure that all affordable housing programs are right-sized and able to be leveraged by not-for-profit housing companies that are familiar with and focus on the needs of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, Senator?
No?
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. Laura Mashute, Executive Director, Supportive Housing Network of New York. Did I mess that name up too much?
Yes. The last name, it's not easy, Mashu.
Mashute.
Yeah, but you got very close. So first of all, thank you, Senator Young, Assemblymember Farrell, Senator Little, and Assemblymember Wright for giving me the opportunity to testify today. Good afternoon. My name is Laura Mashu. I'm the Executive Director of the Supportive Housing Network of New York. The network is a membership organization representing over 200 nonprofits that provide over 50,000 units of supportive housing across New York State. Supportive housing is permanent, affordable housing with on-site support services for chronically homeless individuals with special needs, such as mental illness, substance abuse, HIV/AIDS, chronic health conditions. It's a humane way to provide safe, stable homes for homeless families and individuals living with disabilities in the community. These publicly funded interventions are significantly more expensive when left homeless people when they're in the cycling in and out of prisons, hospitals, emergency rooms, and psych centers. We address this expensive systems by moving these individuals into the community and into supportive housing. My testimony today is about the need to continue to invest in supportive housing as a way to combat the current homeless crisis facing New York State. Statewide, there are roughly 67,000 men, women, and children staying in shelters at any given time. In New York City alone, there's 59,000 people, including 24,000 children. An additional 7,700 people stay in shelter outside New York City. Thousands of others sleep on the streets or in abandoned buildings and makeshift campsites, while thousands more exit foster care, hospitals, and other institutions without a home. While not everyone who is homeless needs supportive housing, it is the proven long-term solution for individuals who are chronically homeless living with mental illness and chronic health conditions. That is why this past year, 75% of the legislature called on the governor to commit to creating 35,000 units of supportive housing statewide. Both the Senate and the Assembly sent letters to the governor asking for the state to support the need. Several of you rallied publicly in your local communities, from Buffalo to New York City to Rochester to Troy to Long Island, speaking about this need. You understand that by wisely investing in this proven solution, we will not only solve homelessness, but we will also improve our neighborhoods and save taxpayer dollars. We wanted to take this time today to thank you for your passion on this issue and for bringing attention to this critical need to create 35,000 units of supportive housing statewide. We were very excited and pleased to hear the governor also agreeing with the legislature and recognizing the need for more supportive housing, declaring a commitment to build 20,000 new units of supportive housing across the state over the next 15 years. This is exactly the type of commitment we need to help us end homelessness among the most vulnerable. This, in addition to the Mayor de Blasio's 15,000 units, will be a combined pledge of 35. This long-term supportive housing program is part of the state's $20 billion five-year affordable housing plan. The five-year plan is set to invest $2.6 billion in 6,000 new units of supportive housing over the first 5 years of the 15-year commitment. The governor has said that over 15 years, the plan will result in 20,000 units of supportive housing. The network is looking forward to seeing the governor's housing and homeless plan and hopeful that an implementation plan will be set in action very soon. It is equally critical for the governor to codify this long-term 15-year commitment so that the intent to create 20,000 new units of supportive housing through 2031 is realized. We urge the legislature to continue to support the need for the state to commit to funding these 20,000 units over the next 15 years and support the governor's plan to build the first 6,000 units over the next 5. As you know, supportive housing plays such a critical role in not only ending homelessness, but addressing neighborhood revitalization, creating jobs, saving taxpayer dollars, spurring economic development, growing affordable housing, increasing property values, and leveraging private investment. Therefore, it is critical we focus on how to quickly and effectively make this robust commitment a reality. I also wanted to take this time today to highlight one additional area of the proposed budget we are concerned about. The executive budget includes language that would add new and additional oversight to the process by which localities use volume cap, and about a third of supportive housing developments use volume cap. We are concerned this process adds unnecessary layers of bureaucracy and approval that could significantly delay development of supportive housing and also significantly erode the certainty that is critically important to investors and developers. In conclusion, I just wanted to talk about one real example of how the state's critical funding helps create something that is so much more than the sum of its parts. Homesteads at Ampersand is a brand new mixed development supportive housing residence in Plattsburgh, New York, providing workforce housing for families and supportive housing for adults with major long-term mental health challenges. Behavioral Health Services North, a not-for-profit, partnered with Reagan Development in this 64-unit residence, filling important housing gaps in this northern New York community. HCR provided capital funding through a mix of housing trust fund, low-income housing tax credits, and HFA second mortgage, totaling $14 million. This is the template that the new Empire State Supportive Housing Initiative will build upon for much of the next generation of supportive housing development. As demonstrated through this example, supportive housing meets the needs of the local communities. Homelessness among our most vulnerable is a statewide problem in both urban and rural settings. By working together, we create housing that addresses the needs of this most vulnerable population and also helps to redevelop our communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Oakes.
Yes, we've been joined by Assemblyman Saladino.
Senator?
Thank you very much, and welcome. It's very good to see you.
Good to see you.
Senator Little had a question.
Thank you. More of a comment, really. It was
Yes.
a very thorough report you gave, but the project in Plattsburgh was incredible. And the nicest part of the project was a young woman in her 20s and confined to a wheelchair who was going into an accessible apartment, and she said never had she been able to live in an accessible apartment. She was so excited, and so it's a great program, great service, so thanks for your support for those.
Wonderful. Thank you, Senator.
I just want to thank you for all the work your organization does throughout every community I work in.
Thank you, Senator Krueger.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Enterprise Community Partners, Judy Kendi, Vice President, New York Market Leader.
Good afternoon. My name is Judy Kendi, and I lead the New York office of Enterprise Community Partners. I would like to thank Chair Farrell, Chair Young, Chair Wright, and Chair Little for the opportunity to testify today. And congratulations to Chair Little on your new role. Enterprise has worked to create and preserve affordable housing in New York and nationwide for 30 years. We have created nearly 50,000 affordable homes for 114,000 New Yorkers through capital investment, programmatic solutions, and policy advocacy. I am pleased to be joined today by so many partners who will also share many examples of how urgent the need is for affordable housing and a consistent message that more resources continue to be needed. Despite the sizable investment of our organization and our partners, New York is in the midst of a full-blown housing and security crisis. The number of homeless and rent-burdened New Yorkers is especially shocking because New York has not only resources to address the issue, but strong capacity in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. The problem is solvable, and we know how to do it. Affordable housing is the solution. We know that when families have safe, stable, affordable housing, kids do better in school, health risks are diminished, and families can buy food and other necessities. We applaud Governor Cuomo's ambitious housing commitment, and we look forward to seeing more details in the forthcoming state housing plan. Today, I would like to comment on a few crucial programs that we hope to see in this housing plan and that we strongly urge the legislature to fully fund in this budget cycle. First, I'd like to thank the legislature for your leadership in calling for the creation of 35,000 units of supportive housing statewide. Supportive housing is a cost-effective, proven solution to chronic homelessness. We urge the legislature to support the governor's 20,000-unit commitment over 15 years and ensure the resources are in place to build the first 6,000 units over the next 5 years. Governor Cuomo must codify this commitment to ensure that the intent to create 20,000 new units of supporting housing through 2031 is realized. Separate from supportive housing, New York State needs a statewide senior affordable housing program. Our senior population is growing, and more seniors do not have enough money saved to pay market rent, let alone pay for a nursing home stay. We are calling for the creation of a new program to provide affordable housing and services to low-income elderly New Yorkers. Our plan calls for $250 million over 5 years to create 500 new units of senior affordable housing. Additionally, we request $4.5 million in funding for rental assistance so that seniors do not become rent burdened when their incomes decrease as they age. Finally, we urge the legislature to fund a resident advisor program for $10 million per year to provide connection to services for seniors in affordable housing. Public housing is a precious and scarce resource that houses some of our most vulnerable New Yorkers. We request that the state match New York City's commitment of $100 million this year to NYCHA to address their capital needs, primarily leaky roofs. To address transparency and accountability concerns, we encourage the state to set up a reporting system for NYCHA to track how the dollars are spent, similar to the system NYCHA has in place with the City of New York. And the final program that I'd like to highlight here is the State Low-Income Housing Tax Credit, or SLIC, which allows funding for units serving households up to 90% of the area median income. SLIC is an invaluable tool that helps create mixed-income communities, reach deeper levels of affordability through cross-subsidization, and create housing appropriate for sometimes hard-to-reach groups like seniors who have a range of incomes. We are asking that the annual allocation of SLIC be increased from $8 million to $25 million this year and gradually increased to $30 million per year by 2021. Finally, I'd like to address another issue in this year's executive budget, tax-exempt bonds. The executive budget includes a new process requiring volume cap received by local issuers to be subject to approval by the Public Authority Controls Board at the project level. In addition, the Empire State Development Corporation Commissioner is given authority to sign off on the local reallocation of what has historically been as of right cap. This adds additional layers of bureaucracy and takes away local control of volume cap. It unnecessarily politicizes a process and adds uncertainty, increases costs, and delays projects. We fear that those hit hardest by these changes will be nonprofit affordable housing organizations, minority and women-owned business enterprises, and small developers who cannot absorb these additional costs. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I would be happy to answer any questions, and I look forward to working with you this budget season and beyond.
Thank you. Person?
Yeah, one quick one. How will
Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. How will the proposed volume cap approvals cause significant delays in affordable housing production? Could you explain that again? You may have already talked about it, but I was outside.
Sure. No, it's a very real concern, so I appreciate that question. Having to take each individual project to the PACB will create extra time. It has a real cost. There's extra interest on the acquisition financing, higher bids if you have to go out and rebid a construction contract or incorporate the extra timeline. And it creates a concern that projects get rejected late in the time frame. Real estate projects take 12 to 24 months of pre-development, and predictability is paramount to attracting private investors. And lastly, it takes away control from local municipalities. And this isn't just a New York City issue, but statewide for municipalities and counties across the state.
Well, and I heard you talk a little bit about NYCHA. How should the proposed $100 million be spent?
Well, I think there was a great question earlier from Senator Young, reading how it had been done last year and really requiring a plan with the chair of NYCHA and for the funding to go directly to NYCHA to be used for those capital needs that are most dire. And we have people living in truly untenable living conditions that are created by leaky roofs and its mold and other features that need to be addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Blair Sebastian, Program Coordinator, New York State Rural Advocates.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Senator Young, Chairman Farrell. I'm typically accompanied in this mission by Nancy Berkowitz, who decided not to show this year when we discovered that there would not be a birthday celebration for the founder of the NPC program. But happy birthday! We're in the neighborhood of Assemblyman Farrell, Assemblyman Wright, Senator Little. Welcome to the world of housing. We're pleased to have you here. We are submitting written testimony that will go well beyond the time frame allotted to us here. So I'd like to just kind of characterize and summarize our position on some of these issues. First, I would be remiss without thanking you and Governor Cuomo as well for the second-year commitment and the three-year commitment to stable and enhanced funding for rural and neighborhood preservation companies. As has been mentioned here earlier, these community-based organizations provide essential service in communities, in our case, in rural communities where government infrastructure is somewhat less than it might be in more robust suburban and urban areas. RPCs serve to fill a gap in those communities that is sort of an essential service, and we're grateful for the indication of support. My other important role in this conversation, I think, is to just highlight the importance and the challenges that come with dealing with affordable housing in rural places. I never outrun my family's concern about my having moved from the Midwest to this urban state. But the fact of the matter is, as we well know, New York State is not an entirely urban place. In fact, about 90% of our land area is rural. 2 million of our fellow citizens, New Yorkers, live in rural communities. Over 12% of our state's housing stock are located in small towns and rural communities. So rural is a very significant piece of the entire family of New York package. Rural presents some specific challenges to doing affordable housing. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the issue of tenure, where about 54% of all New Yorkers live in their own homes. When you move to rural communities, that statewide rural is about 71% homeowners. In some markets, it's substantially greater than that. Hence, New York State Rural Advocates has a great interest in home ownership programs. We have spoken today about the Affordable Housing Corporation program that we believe deserves enhanced funding rather than reduced funding. We find programs like Restore and Access to Home to be critically important, and also believe that they are deserving of additional funding. The other big project, there is a tremendous need for rental housing as well. A third of our rural residents live in rental housing. It's kind of expected that the proportion of folks living in rural will increase somewhat, and have increased somewhat since the 2008 crash of the housing market and the home ownership market. Rural communities present some challenges to affordable housing development and rental development in those communities by virtue of our small scale. It was alluded to a little earlier with the way the principal mechanism of accomplishing rental housing these days is our programs that leverage federal and state tax credits, all of which have very significant transaction costs, which kind of require larger projects to spread those transaction costs across. So when you get to rural areas in Senator Little's district, Senator Young's district, where 6, 8, and 10 units are more appropriate than 40 or 50, the state is not overwhelmed with products that serve those kinds of needs. We're real interested in seeing the community investment program continue to grow and fill some of that gap. As my colleague from the NP Coalition pointed out, our members are active supporters of the Rural Area Revitalization Program and its urban complement urban initiatives. Both programs provide funding for projects and programs of appropriate scale in smaller communities and smaller urban places as well. And we have long called for a set-aside from the, returning to the time when we would have a set-aside from the Housing Trust Fund that was specifically targeted to small projects of, say, 15 units or less that do not use tax credits in any form. The other broad area is the entire community development area. Small communities are very sensitive to the holistic approach to affordable housing and community development. Our principal housing agency, I guess it isn't a division, it's Housing and Community Renewal without preface. We are concerned about the community renewal side. We've seen great strides and great increases on the finance and development side of HCR. We feel that the community development side has been treated less well, and we would like to see new attention paid to community development activities, particularly programs like the Main Street program, which we find to be a very successful mechanism for revitalizing New York's hundreds of small, distressed downtowns. Finally, we applaud Governor Cuomo and his proposal under the House New York 2020 program, and see therein the opportunity to do lots and lots of great things. We're pleased that the governor appears to be moving towards funding the body of New York's existing housing programs through the new initiative. We've always believed it's important to support the existing programs. There's a great need in our communities for this resource. We think the most direct quick way to get money to the street is to invest in the existing programs, which all work quite well, rather than inventing new programs. So we're pleased to see the approach. We're pleased by the magnitude of the commitment, and we look forward to working with you and the governor through this process to see that our communities are well served by our combined work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senator Little.
Oh, thank you. One question I had was on the Restore program
Yes.
for helping the elderly with emergency housing problems, and you talk about how bureaucratic it has become. Bureaucracy doesn't answer well to emergency situations. Do you have any ideas of how we could streamline this program or make it
Thank
more
you,
responsive?
Senator. The bureaucratization of all of the programs gets to be an issue, and there does seem to have been sort of a convergence of the way we operate programs. Restore was originally intended to be 3-day turnaround. You would get a call from an eligible low-income elderly homeowner with some crisis or another and be able to address that problem in a matter of days. Now, there are requirements now, environmental requirements, review requirements that didn't exist before. We are challenged by the bidding process and administrative processes. We now have to look at historic preservation status of a home before we fix the hot water heater. There are, some issues like that that have just incrementally grown over time that have created frustration for the folks in the field who are looking to answer those home repair programs emergency home repair needs in the time frame originally intended. Specific ideas are, we've had conversations with the agency. We understand that there are regulatory requirements that the agency has to meet. Perhaps it's coming back to you and looking to streamline some of that regulatory process.
Maybe we could look at that and see if some of those things could be done afterwards in hindsight and then fixed, because I spent time with Alan Hips last week, and the biggest one in the North Country is when the furnace goes out, or and they're operating and they have no heat, so you can't go through preservation.